Hi guys, and welcome to an episode of Movie Chain, brought to you by It's Okay Guys, We Got This. I'm Baba, and I'm joined by my co-host Itty. Itty, how are you?
Hi, I'm very good, thanks.
Why don't you tell our followers and fans what Movie Chain is?
Cool. So Movie Chain is our new series where we review a movie, and based on the last letter from the title of that movie, we choose our next movie, beginning with said letter to review next. Does that make sense, Baba?
That makes sense to me, but do you want to give an example?
So, for example, let's just say if we choose to review Superbad for this episode, our next movie that we pick will begin with the letter D, which is the last letter of the word Superbad, which means our next movie could potentially be Drive. And the reason why I say the next movie could potentially be Drive is because that's where you, the listeners, come in. You get to decide whether you like our next pick or not. So if the letter we choose for the film is starting with a D and we say Drive, and you can just happily come back to us and go, we don't like Drive, we want
Despicable Me, which Baba hates with a passion.
Or Devil Wears Prada, which Baba hasn't seen either, apparently.
Yeah,
I haven't seen it either.
It could be nice to be like, what's the Dark Knight again, for no particular reason, and I'm like, yes.
Oh,
yes.
But then we'd get into semantics such as, does the Dark Knight come under D or T?
It has to come under D, otherwise T would just be a nightmare. Just a nightmare.
Yeah, so that's basically the concept of Movie Chain. And with that, let's start off this chain with our first movie, which is going to be National Treasure.
We went with National Treasure. It's a film that myself and Itty have seen a fair few times, and one we always reference, I feel, for random inside jokes for no reason. Why don't you start off with the plot, Itty?
Quick summary of the plot of National Treasure for the listeners. National Treasure follows Benjamin Gates, who is a historian / treasure hunter who is on the trail for the mythical treasure of the Knights of the Round Templar. The film basically follows Ben Gates on his sort of journey, following all the clues left by the Knights of the Round Table. Is it Round Table or Round Templar?
I think it's Round. I don't even know if it's Round Templar. No, it's Templar. Definitely.
There we go.
I don't know if it's Round Templar.
So Ben Gates is following on his adventure, trying to track down the mythical national treasure, when his business partner or his investor decides to change the game a bit by, I guess, doing some illegal activities to try and attain one of the clues. At which point the movie sort of turns into a heist movie where Ben is racing against his evil investor, who's trying to steal the Declaration of Independence, which turns out to be a clue from the Knights of the Round Templar. The movie then turns into a race between Benjamin Gates and his ex-investor partner, Ian Howe, who are both racing to try and essentially steal this national document, the Declaration of Independence. Benjamin Gates wants to steal it to protect it, whereas Ian Howe wants to steal it and just get rid of it like it's just another piece of paper. And yeah, so the film turns into a race between the two who are trying to track down the mythical national treasure, one to sort of clear his family name, who have been basically stepped on as a result of believing in this imaginary treasure, whereas the other one wants to find this treasure and exploit it for his own personal gain.
Exactly.
What did you think of the plot as a whole, Baba?
I think it sort of throws you into it, which I think is kind of good, because normally there's a lot of like build up and it's just a bit annoying. Whereas literally in the first scene, you see them working together and essentially split up. And that's literally the first thing Is it the first thing? It's the first thing you see in the modern day times, because I remember there's a flashback, if I remember correctly. But yeah, the first time you see like a grown up Ben Gates is working with is it Ian Howe? Yeah, and then the relationship sort of breaks down once Ian realizes it's going to take a bit of, like, it's not in the immediate reward. It's, you know, a bit of more clues and a bit of more work. And he's like, nah, I want like treasure now. So you go bye-bye.
Give me the gold coins now.
Yeah. So it starts off with that, and then it just sort of just builds and builds. I think it's like pace-wise, it works really well. I think you sort of obviously side with the heroes as you will, but you sort of understand the villains focus, like his point of view, which is kind of rare. Normally you're just like, oh, it's a villain, he's an idiot, we don't like him, but you can sort of understand why he's doing the things that he's doing, which is always good, rather than just sort of some sort of mindless figure as this is the baddie of the film.
Yeah. I just coming back to the beginning of the plot where they kind of introduced the whole concept of the treasure and the history of it. That could have gone horribly wrong. I've seen it's the whole age-old thing where when a movie starts with a bit of narration that kind of sets the backstory of the film, you know things are kind of doomed.
Like,
but
do you mean like Transformers with the cube?
in the beginning, there was the cube.
You're like, what
Best-
are you on about?
Best opening line ever. No, yeah, they could have really dug themselves into a hole with the backstory. They could have really got bogged down with it all, but I felt like they've really summarized the whole thing just so we got all the basic information that we needed to know. We didn't need Indiana Jones and the Temple of... No, it wasn't the Temple of Doom, the Last Crusade, basically. We didn't need that whole film to understand the story of the Knights of the Round Templar. Yeah, so they did a very, very good job of introducing the Freemasons and the treasure and how the Freemasons end up embedding themselves into members of the US government. So people like Benjamin Franklin, and I think some of the presidents also may have been like Freemasons.
Yeah,
and how they've...
The founding fathers.
Yeah, they've used... That's it, the founding fathers, and how they've used their influence to build in the clues. So they've got clues in the $100 bills. They've got clues in some of the national monuments and landmarks of America, which really, really, you know, I think that's what drew me into this film. I actually remember the first time I watched this film, I had no idea what this film was going to be about. And as I watched it, I remember it getting my attention in more and more. And I enjoyed that little kind of bit of high adventure, you know?
Do you know why I think you like it? And I think maybe why I like it. It seems that's kind of dumb, but it's like a variant of Goonies, to be honest. There's something about it with all the clues and obviously the treasure at the end. Just that sort of intrigue. I'm not saying it is the Goonies, but it's like it's a weird spin-off, like a weird spin-off, I would say.
Yeah. Once the journey gets going, as they kind of stumble upon each clue, it does. It's got that Goonies feel to it. Another thing I found as I watched this, and I'm surprised I only found it out now, almost like 12 years after the film came out, is that this is essentially a heist movie. It didn't click in my head originally.
Kind of didn't think about that. But I feel if I like actually sat down and went through this film again, I feel I could point out so many like security flaws of like, this can't be possible. Like this just cannot be possible.
Yeah. So, and that's another thing I really enjoyed about it. It's just the planning. So, the film does a good job of kind of, oh, okay, we've stumbled on this clue, and then you don't know how they got to the clue. You don't know what they had to do to get to that clue, but they kind of flesh it all out in the next part of the film, which is essentially the first act. With the whole sort of prepping, finding out where the security holes are and how they're going to infiltrate the museum that holds the Declaration of Independence, and all the nice overlapping cuts of the scenes and so on. And so it's a really, really, I think I'm just surprised. It took me 12 years to actually figure out that's what drew me into this film as well. The fact that it was a bit of Goonies, which is both of our favorite film, and also a bit of kind of Ocean's 11, bit of Fast 5, bit of Now You See Me, you know, all those typical hallmarks of heist movies were in there. One thing I do want to mention though, is that this is a movie that's sort of made by Disney, and it's obviously kind of hidden away, just tucked away, like that. You just see a quick Disney opening kind of credit, and that's it.
Yeah.
That you don't see anything else. But the villains in this film are very Disney. They are not frightening at all. They're supposed to be mercenaries who've done very, very kind of black market things.
Yeah.
But when it comes to Benjamin Gates and his little group of, you know, history enthusiasts, they're just a bunch of softies.
I'm just trying to think, did anyone get shot in this film? As soon as you said Disney, I was like, oh yes, Disney. And
no one directly got shot. I think the closest thing to shots.
So many guns in this film.
Yeah,
like, no,
and so many missed shots.
Yeah, oh my god, it's one of those things where you're like, it's a clear shot. It's harder to miss than to shoot the guy. I don't understand. Oh my god.
I think the only actual image of a direct shot is when they taser a security guard.
Oh yeah, they do.
Yeah, that's the closest thing to direct shots.
Why leave a trail? Just end it. Just take him out. Just be like, sorry, bad luck for you, mate.
And another thing, coming back to the villains not being frightening, it was the fact that there's a bit where the heroes look like they're just ultimately being walked to their death at one point, which is not going to happen because it's a Disney movie. Come on, let's be honest. And Nick Cage essentially kisses his love interest, just grabs her and gives her a kiss, and they both have a lovey-dovey kind of moment, and they walk on, and then one of the security guards is like, oh, why can't things like that ever happen to me? And he's pining after them. And I thought, dude, you're supposed to be a stone cold killer.
Yeah, you should be like crackheads. Like, nah, none of that here. This is my house.
It's like,
boom.
He's thinking about Valentine's Day.
Realistically,
yeah.
this was a serious film. Like, they probably would have just ended. Like, yeah, someone should have died. Like, basically, someone on the good side should have just died. But like, this is what is at stake. I will kill people. Get this done, rather than just, yeah, I might hurt you. Did anyone even get hurt in this film? Did anyone get punched or something? What the hell? Now I'm thinking about it.
In a way, Ian Howe, so the evil investor, the enemy, his right-hand man ends up falling down into an endless pit, and that's essentially
the thing. That's the bad guy. That's like saying the villain got his comeuppance, but there should be peril. There should be mortal peril for the good guy. So you're kind of like, oh, I wonder what's going to happen. But it's like, nah. It's like, you know, obviously, like in any sort of superhero film where it's like, this person may die. It's like, oh, Spider-Man might die. We all know Spider-Man isn't going to die. The film is called Spider-Man. Let's be honest. It's always about how they're going to get out of it. But you got to think, like, oh, he might die. As dumb as it sounds, we all know he's not going to. But you just want that feeling of, it's slightly possible. It's not possible, guys. It's not possible. So,
should we, like, what did you think of the cast?
So the cast, I think it's quite a small cast. So you've got Nicolas Cage as Ben Gates, you've got Diane Kruger as Abigail Chase, Justin Bartha as Riley Poole. Those are his dad is. Why am I thinking John Voight? Is not his name? Or is that
it is John Voight.
John Voight as Papa Gates, I don't know his name.
Papa Gates. His name is Patrick Gates, but Papa Gates sounds a lot better, actually.
So I feel those are the good guys. They worked well. Obviously, Nicolas Cage is, I guess, the brains, and Abigail Chase is a sort of same sort of history enthusiast.
I was gonna say the brawn.
No. It's history enthusiast, same as the father. So that you have those three as the history nuts, so to speak. Then you have Justin Bartha Riley, who's the more up-to-date tech guy. And I really like his moment when he realizes something that somehow they don't, like to do with time
Yeah.
zones. And
Yeah.
you're just like, oh, so this is how it feels. I like this. It feels good here.
He certainly brought the just all the comic relief on that
Yeah,
film.
definitely. And I think this was his first film. Justin Buffer, if you're not aware of him, is I don't know, is his name Doug in Hangover?
Yes, Doug.
Yeah. I remember they find Black Duck, and I was like, yeah, it must be Doug or something. So yeah, he's the guy who gets lost in Hangover, the groom in the first film. Yeah, great comic relief. Great. Played his role well.
Yeah.
Yeah, played his role well. Then you also have Sean Bean as the key villain in this film, who probably would have got his way, and maybe a bit of treasure if he just was a bit patient. That's all he had to do. Patient. That's what let him down. He was impatient and was like, nah, I'm going to do this my own. Even though he must have needed Ben Gates for something. Like, there must have been, like, this is the guy to take me forward. But he's like, nah, now.
I've just got this image, Baba, that I feel like you should write a book where you write inspirational lines for movie villains.
I would love to.
It's like you pick an enemy and then you write a line that corresponds to them. So you got Sean Bean as Ian Howe. Patience is key.
Yes, that's it. Just get that, and that's the thing. If he was patient, he wouldn't even be a villain. He would be a hero. That's how bad it is. If he just waited, I guess he would have been able to. I don't know how they would have done like the Declaration of Independence madness. Probably somehow worked that they were sort of against each other, and there was.
It would have been like Mission Impossible 1.
Yeah, it would. Yeah, it would. It actually would. Maybe the fact that there were two factions going for the same thing is why they sort of got away with it. Maybe the police/government were sort of split on it. Were split between the two, as opposed to just one enemy. I guess for them to go.
Yeah. We didn't talk about the FBI.
Oh yeah, with is it Harvey? Is it Keitel?
I always say Keitel. So yeah, Harvey Keitel as FBI agent Sadusky. I don't know why I have to say it like that.
The thing is, I just see him as is he Little Nicky's dad or something?
I think so.
I just see him as evil. I don't know why. It's probably why. It happens, man. I just associate people with certain films. I'm like, nope, this person's bad.
Yeah. So. That was the interesting thing about the plot we didn't mention. The fact that in the middle of this race, Benjamin Gates and Ian Howe both sort of incriminate themselves and have the FBI chasing them.
Sort of incriminate.
Sort of. No, yes. They flat out incriminate themselves.
Yeah. Pretty sure there's like their pictures in the news and stuff.
Actually, no, they don't. Do they?
No? I swear his face is up somewhere.
Oh, maybe. It might be. I don't actually remember that bit. So, cinematography / visuals, what do we think about that in this film?
For what it's like, for what the film is, I think they just hit it dead on. Obviously, it's sort of like an American tourist film or something. I can't explain it. It's
Come to America. We have all of these landmarks.
Yeah, it's like subtle propaganda, to be honest, mate. Like, so yeah, you just get sweeping shots of, obviously like iconic American landmarks, and I feel like everything was just orange in this film. That's maybe to link with the gold color, I guess. But
yeah,
there was sort of that yellow hue for a lot of the film, and yeah, honestly, yeah, just they hit it dead on. Like, they did what they had to do for this film.
Yeah. It's pretty average. Yeah. One thing I liked about the whole visuals of it all was the editing style. Like I said, coming back to the whole heist movie setup. I loved the bit when Justin Buffer's character, Riley Paul's kind of explaining how... basically explaining all the issues that they will have to face to try and steal the Declaration of Independence. And I just love the way that they did all these kind of seamless overlapping edits where certain bits from one scene would overlap the bits of the next scene. So it's very, very reminiscent of a heist movie, which I really, really enjoy actually in a movie. I love seeing interesting editing, video editing like that.
I know what you mean, actually. Yeah, that scene with Justin Bartha where he's just running down the scenarios. It's actually really good, and it lets you know what they're up against, basically.
And then that takes us on very quite nicely to the soundtrack of the movie as well. They had a really, really at first I thought they had a very kind of standard action soundtrack, but no, now that we both just gave it a quick listen before we started recording, it's actually quite a memorable theme if you think about it. Like if that theme was to play somewhere, we would know that it's from National Treasure. Any of the three themes, you know, the main theme, the theme for when they're I guess prepping for things, and then there's their action theme. I feel like those are the three themes that go in the film. And hopefully when I'm editing this, I'll put in those three themes as I'm talking about them.
Yeah, because basically you played it just before we started recording, and I was like, oh, this is the scene where blah, blah, blah. And this is the sneaky scene. Yeah, you just know exactly what scene it's relating to. I think they're like the main theme is it's quite subtle, to be honest, compared to all the films that we go through where you know the theme like dead on. Yeah. Whereas this one is quite subtle, just sort of creeps up on you.
And it's quite a nice... This movie is a very nice light watch. It's very light-hearted. It's not too serious, which is, I think, where Disney sort of excels at making movies. You know, the Disney movies always tend to be family-friendly, and it's something you can put on a Sunday afternoon and kind of switch off while it's going on in the background.
Yes, exactly. You know what it reminds me of? If you remember, they used to do like films on Channel 5, like Sundays. Around like 5 or 6 o'clock. This is exactly one of those films. Like it just gets the job done. It's just exactly.
Albeit an hour and a half movie will end up taking about 2.5 hours with all the adverts.
Yeah, God damn those adverts. So many adverts. You're like, this is even possible. I don't understand.
So I just want to get to the end of this movie.
And you have the film on DVD where you're like, nah, I'll just watch it on TV.
Exactly.
Doesn't make sense.
Exactly. The amount of times I've watched Lord of the Rings on TV, despite having the trilogy sitting in a drawer right underneath my TV. It's like, no, I have to watch it. I have to watch it on TV with the adverts.
There's no possible way I would watch Lord of the Rings on TV. That's like, what, 4 or 5 hours? I don't know. Yeah. I would never do that. I couldn't. Nah. I just be like, I'll watch one part and then be like, right, let me get the DVD.
This is assuming that, this is going on the assumption that I've kind of picked up the movie kind of halfway because I didn't realize it was on TV.
Yeah. I know exactly what you mean. Yeah, exactly.
So,
yeah, you're right.
Speaking of Sunday afternoon TVs and Channel 5 and so on, This is a film that you would rewatch?
Without a doubt. There's something about it, mate. Like, it's one of those films where you hopefully forget the plot before you watch it again, if you know what I mean. Like, you'll do like large gaps. I don't know about you. I think it might be different for you. But for me, I'd like to keep a long gap in between watching it. So I sort of, it does feel like not a new film, but you know, you see stuff like for the first time again, so to speak. Like you forget, oh yeah, this happens, and oh yeah, that happened. So yeah, it's for me, it's a good film. It's a great Disney film. Great. I don't know. I can't explain it. It's not like a mini heist, but like on the scale of heist films, it's like it's not the highest form of a heist, but it's a decent level heist. It's a decent level heist, even though what it still is pretty much probably something that cannot be stolen. Just cannot. If you know what I mean.
Ladies and gentlemen, yes, I present to you Baba and the heist scale. You got mini heist, you got decent heist, and you got highest heist.
The highest heist is probably Fast Five when they stole the safe and they're just driving it down.
And they're driving down Brazil.
So many questions. Just so many questions. Just like, okay, Vin Diesel, you do what you want. I'm not going to ask questions. Heist, like it's safe on the road.
See, with the rewatch, I'm on the I would disagree with you just because this is a movie where I will never forget the plot. As unfortunately, it's such a very simple plot to follow that it just stays ingrained in my head for a very, very long time. So I don't think I think it would have to be like a decade or more before I forget the plot of this film.
A decade.
I know, but part of it is because this is one of my this is in my top 10 of
Go-to films.
top 10 of most rewatched films, and I've told you this I think several times before, where I've easily seen this movie 100 times since it's been released.
And you're not exaggerating on the number.
Nope, not exaggerating on the number one bit. It's a very, like I said, it's a very fun movie. It's a light watch, so you can sort of put it on in the background and just kind of have it on. Or you could do the bedtime routine that me and you do, which is basically put on a film, watch it for 10 minutes, fall asleep. Next night, resume from where we left off, watch for another 10 minutes, fall asleep. And then you just rinse and repeat till you hit the end of the movie, and then you pick another movie to add on to the bedtime routine.
To do the same. Exactly, yeah. You're right. The same routine. Makes no sense. You just be awake and watch the whole film. Like, nah.
See, that happens with movies that I haven't seen in a very long time. I know if I put it on at, let's say, 10 at night, I'm not going to bed until I finish watching that movie. And it's usually the case for like Nolan movies. So if I put, I don't know, Interstellar or The Prestige or The Dark Knight and Dark Knight Returns, I'm not going to sleep. There's no way. Whereas films like National Treasure, The Goonies, Die Hard, I can just sort of put it on, watch it for 10 minutes, and next thing you know, I'm just snoring completely.
Fair enough. Oh man, yeah, I know what you mean.
So,
that is true.
let's bring this to a close. What if let's give this a score out of 5 slates. How many slates would you give this?
Yeah, because we're not doing half slate. Okay, and it's out of 5, isn't it? Right. This is, oh man. Okay. The thing is, 3 out of 5 isn't average. That's the thing.
Yeah.
That's the key thing here. That's the good side of average.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go with 3 out of 5 slates.
Yep, and I agree. I would go with 3 out of 5 as well. It's not a fantastic film, but I would look at it this way. Anything that falls into the 3 out of 5 slate range is an instant kind of rewatch movie. It's something you can watch over and over and over again.
It's a good film, basically. Yeah.
It's a very, very good
3
film.
out of 5 means that it's a good film.
Yeah. So, that brings our first episode of Movie Chain to a close. So as we mentioned at the beginning of the episode, Movie Chain is our new series where we pick a movie to review, and then based on the last letter from the title of that movie, we will use that letter to choose our next movie in the movie chain. And where this is where you, the listeners, kind of come into play. If you don't like what we pick for our next episode, which we will sort of advertise on the podcast and on social media, you are able to disrupt this chain or break this chain by just basically tweeting us with the hashtag #MovieChain and telling us, no, you should watch this movie or review this movie, and then we will look at your decision and decide whether we want to review that or not. But you have to make as many of you as possible. You have to get as many of you as possible to convince us to basically review your choice. I think it's safe to say, Baba, that 90% of their choices will be reviewed if they break the chain.
Yeah, to be honest, it just needs to be a decent-ish film for us to be like, yeah, why not? And hopefully, if it's by some miracle we haven't seen it, we would be more inclined to give it a go.
Definitely. And, make it as, not too obscure, but make it as obscure as you'd like. You can give us... I don't know. You can give us some. What did you were talking before we started recording? You mentioned, what was it? Never-ending story. There was an Elmo movie you mentioned as well.
Elmo in
Grouchland. So, with that being said, this episode was National Treasure. So the last letter's E. So for our next movie, we are going to pick Ender's Game. What do you think about that, Baba?
I've not seen it.
Oh, sorry.
And I know it's based from a book, sorry. And it has, what is that guy's name?
Harrison Ford.
He was new Nightcrawler, wasn't he? No, the kid.
No, it's not. No,
Nightcrawler.
not that kid. It's a different kid, I think.
Oh, it's not him. Is that someone different?
It's somebody different, yeah. So
they look alike then.
Yeah, so Ender's Game is available on Netflix at the moment, which we are not supported by at all. This is just making it easy for you guys to find it. So yeah, go check it out and join us for our next episode. And before we leave you completely, let's tell you how you can find us. So you can head over to our website, which is www.itsokayguys.com. You can find us on social media. We're on Twitter as @itsokayguys, and we're on Facebook as The OK Guys. Is that right?
I think it's like the It's Okay Guys or something. It's something.
I think it's the It's Okay Guys.
We'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah.
So hopefully.
Baba, do you want to give out your personal Twitter for people if they want to follow you?
It's intrepid_MB, I believe. It's been too long for me to actually give it out, so I'm honestly not sure.
There we go. And I am on Twitter as @ittyshuo, ITTYSHUO. You can also catch this podcast through either iTunes or Stitcher, depending on whether you're on an iPhone or an Android device. Just go in there, type in It's Okay Guys, and you should hopefully find us there. Is there any other way people can get in touch with us or find us that I'm missing?
If they see us on the street.
They don't have pictures of us. We need to put pictures of us.
If they see us on the street.
If they see us on the street.
If they have our Twitter, I can't explain it. If they were like Dark Knight detectives, or not even Dark Knight detectives, if they were like Harriet the Spy level detective, so when they go to our Twitter, they'll go to our private Twitters, they'll see pictures of us, then just go from there. Or go to our Facebook, see who we're linked with, or see who's liking it, find us, then you have the picture. And I've just realised this is like a stalker's ABC, so let's stop.
For your information, we will be at London Bridge this Friday, although this episode probably going to be coming out way after Friday. So yeah, with that we are gonna bring our first episode of Movie Chain to a close. Next episode is gonna be Ender's Game. Hit us up on Twitter, #moviechain, and your choice of a movie starting with the letter E if you don't want us to watch and review Ender's Game. And with that, I'm gonna say bye, and Baba, say bye.
Baba says bye.
I was gonna say Baba's just rebelling there. Baba and the heist scale. You got mini heist, you got decent heist, and you got highest heist.